Now, our next speaker is Angelos Karageorgos. He is personally present here in Moldova. He is a blogger, anti-globalist activist from Greece, and his speech is entitled "The Ruler of This World and the Abundant Printing of Fake Money."
So, hello to everybody, and I am very grateful, first of all, about this event. I am hearing well. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for this organization. I am very grateful because, as you know, at this point of time, that kind of events are not very usual, and there aren't any resources, and we are actually chased by everybody. This is a common thing for the last years because till 2020 we could say that the situation was a bit different. So at this point of time, it was maybe hard to explain to people that something was wrong in humanity. But 2020, things changed radically. And we came to a point that was crystal clear that something was very wrong. Everybody, all these institutions, literally every institution, went on the same page. And all these immature leaders that in the past used to fight with each other and couldn't connect and couldn't find an agreement, suddenly went in the same page. So we can say that their masks really dropped at that point. And we saw that we were following the exactly same directions. At that time then, they told us to wear masks, and it was the point that ironically they dropped theirs. Then, this was a situation that became crystal clear that things weren't as they were describing them. And they forced people to these fake injections that were genetically engineering our DNA, which was extremely important. After that, we continued, and even before the dust was about to settle, another thing happened on 2022, and was this war in Ukraine. And we were supposed at that time again to believe that this happened by accident. And the European leaders, the previous years, didn't know that there may be a problem with Putin. So we became very reliant to his energy, and it appears that we had then this energy crisis and this food crisis. So we are supposed to believe that these crises were happening by accident, and it was something that we were supposed to accept. But if we think straight from the horse's mouth, Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, saying that this crisis, especially the corona, was a great opportunity to implement the Great Reset. And at the same time, if we think the Hegelian dialect, which is problem, reaction, solution, we may come to a better understanding of what is going on in the world. Therefore, we are supposed to believe that these crises were happening by accident. But how can they happen by accident when on the one hand, we have that great technology, we have these satellites, we have these digital technologies, and on the other hand, many people don't have food to eat, or there is a problem, we can't even turn on our light bulbs at home. This, I think, proves the point that something is not exactly the way they describe it, and for me, is a crystal clear proof. Now, at the same time, we have the creation of BRICS. BRICS is supposed to be a different pole, the other side, which is trying to create and free humanity. But this is not what is doing, because from their own words, they follow every direction from the United Nations. And every time they talk, this is what they say about sustainable development and all the words that we have been used to hear all the time. Therefore, it's just a way to stop what they were saying as liberalism before, and the power of the United States that was promoting the capitalism. But this was a fake liberalism due to the fact that the only thing that really mattered was for the big companies to become bigger and reach the point now that very few of them have all the resources. So they told us that maybe we can create a shop and we can be independent. But the reality was that they were just letting the big companies become huge. Now this has come to stop, and the world has to become China. And this is where the BRICS come. This is what we see. And when we say the world has to become China, means that we have to implement the systems of China. Klaus Schwab calls it stakeholder capitalism. This stakeholder capitalism means that most of the resources of the world, all of them, we will be in these very few big companies, creating a type of capitalism, a type of communism, but instead of having one leader, the government, we will have very few leaders, which will be these companies. Therefore, we are reaching a point that the great digitalization and the technology is going to help a lot in this thing, I am afraid. And we go clearly towards this direction. And as we are looking at these things and we describe them and we try to analyze them, we may ask, how do they manage and have this power? These big companies have just made good profits because they are very good businessmen and they handle very nice their things. I don't think this is true, because we see many companies that are not profiting. They are at loss all the time, and they still can take loans. Why is this happening? Do the banks not care about making a profit? They don't care, because the central banks are creating money out of thin air. Fed and the European Bank and all the central banks are creating money out of thin air. They can just print it, and they can just write the numbers in a computer. This is the reality, as much as they like. And they can lend as much as they like to anybody they like. And they can starve the ones that have to be starved, and they can push as much money as they like to the ones that implement the Agenda 2030. This is what is going on, and this is why they have that huge power, and they can do whatever they like. And since we made this clear, I believe, because this is how the system works, they can, any agenda they have, the corona, the investments, even China was created by capital from the United States, but it doesn't have to do with the United States. It has to do with the bankers that are printing the money, and they pushed it outside of the United States, and they built China, and they invented, and they invested, money, a lot of money there. If we continue now our way of thinking, since we established that, we have to think who is behind all this? Who might be behind all this? The oligarchs, the bankers, the businessmen. Was humanity ever free? If we look at history, humanity was never free. Humanity was always suffering. Before that, now actually we say the Rothschilds, now we can talk about the Rockefellers, but before them was the Pope. Before them was Babylon. Before them was Egypt. So how can we say that the elites are just doing it now and the elites are behind everything? They are not. Who is behind everything was mentioned exactly by our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, where he said in the Gospel of John that the ruler of this world has been judged. And he called him Satan. And he also said that I can say a lot of more things to you, but you will not be able to understand. Now is the time to understand. Everything since 2020 has come to light. And we know who is behind everything because we have all the proofs. And he is only one. And all the others are puppets. And every elite in the centuries, not in the last centuries, in all the centuries, was just a puppet. And the ones that play that are fighting with each other are just pieces of the same game. So we have a chess player who is the ruler of this world, Satan, and he's playing the chess game, and he has and the whites and the blacks. And they are being used as a distraction for us to pick sides and don't really understand that they are just manipulated to create crisis in order for the agenda to go further. For example, in Ukraine, it created the food and energy crisis that we said doesn't make sense when they have so many billions investing wherever they like. They have that technology, but at the same time, we said we cannot turn on the lights at our home. Since now we established that the ruler of this world is beyond the physical level, we have enough proofs to understand that the fight is spiritual, is beyond the physical level. Thus, what we need to better understand now is that what we can do now about that. Because now we know who is against us. We know who is our enemy. He is our external enemy, and it's very important to understand exactly the way he works. And that's why what we are analyzing. He is creating crisis, like what we heard straight from the horse's mouth, Klaus Schwab, that what we said, the crises are a great opportunity, the problem reaction solution. So these crises are the way to move the agenda forward. Since we understand that, we are ready to protect ourselves because we can see things clearly. And we know that since the beginning of our lives, from our first breath, he put all these slanders in us. He put on our minds wrong things. He didn't explain us, and he taught us to be egoistic. He taught us to be afraid. He taught us to not believe in the good and just try to fight others because life is hard and life is difficult, and that we have to be mean. And all the ideas that you can clearly see, which are so different than what Jesus Christ has taught us. his words. Therefore, now we understand that the spiritual fight in us is what we are going to do inside of us, which is the other point. Because, okay, we know who is the ruler of this world and we know what he's doing, but what are we going to do about that? We have to extinguish from inside of us everything that he has put in us. We have to look clearly inside of us, because at the moment that we say, I am, and we can look at ourselves, we can change. And we can see everything little by little, because these are in a subconscious level, and the propaganda is in everywhere. And everywhere there are lies. So we can look deeply inside of us, and we can start understanding the differences between the words of the Lord and what we have been taught by the ruler of this world, who has been judged now, and his time is coming, because everything, I say again, has come to light, and it's a great opportunity now to see that. So the important thing for us, because we have to say, what are we going to do? What is the most important thing to do? The most important thing to do is to save our soul. The most important thing is to look inside of us and see what we have been mistakenly taught. See our thoughts, look at our thoughts, and look if they are towards love, or if they are towards ourselves, fulfilling only what we need, our needs. Let's look at ourselves deeply and understand where we have been mistaken. What can we change? What thoughts, what emotions, what actions we are doing and are only for our fulfillment, and they are not for the good of others. This is the huge difference. This is the way to go. So the idea is that the fight, whatever they do to us, they can do whatever they like, they can do whatever they want, but God gave us free will. We can, in our mind, we can always have a choice. In our predispositions, we can always have a choice. And this can never be taken. So the point is to really choose at any point, look at ourselves and know. Because many things are in a subconscious level, and many things have been habits, and most of them we cannot even see because we have been used to that. But if we put the predisposition inside of us to look from outside and observe ourselves and be able to change, and at the same time, now the darkness is all around. The darkness is everywhere, and we have been used to that. We have felt so bad about this. We have so many bad experiences. Isn't it now the best opportunity that the darkness is crystal clear and our motivation is at the highest level, because the darkness is so huge to go on the opposite side? When we see how clear and what are the qualities of the ruler of this world, isn't it crystal clear now what is the correct direction, what is the way to go, and how important it is? So let's use this. Let's use what they are doing. Let's use what they say as a great opportunity to go against that and not accept them and take a different direction as people. I think this is the most important thing. And being clothed by the word of Jesus Christ, we can never be afraid. And we can always know that being freeing ourselves and saving our souls, in the very end, is only a matter of our choice. And whatever they do, I'm saying again, doesn't really matter, because in the very end, it is our choice what we are going to do. So let's take these things very seriously. Let's think them very deeply. And I believe that independently of what happens, we have this choice. And we can do whatever is needed. And anytime, and even when we do something externally, by always having this predisposition, it can always have a blessing. I am sure about that. And the opportunities and the chances in our life will be becoming better and better. And God will always be helping us as long as we try to be connected with Him. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Aggelos, for this very impressive speech. Really.